What's up, guys? So I'm starting a brand new series. Not sure what it's going to be called yet, but probably the how-to series, where I'm going to talk about certain topics and how to address them. I'm still going to be doing all the life of a PT student vlogs and everything. It's just sometimes when I feel like there's certain things I want to talk about and kind of explain better, I'm going to use these kind of videos and kind of make it more organized. So today's topic is anterior pelvic tilt and how to address it, and I'll probably touch on a little bit of other movement dysfunctions as well. So what causes anterior pelvic tilt? And what is anterior pelvic tilt? So basically, naturally, our pelvis is tilted anteriorly just a little bit. I think 13, 15 degrees tilted anteriorly a little bit. And if you're excessively tilted anteriorly, that will be considered anterior pelvic tilt. And that can cause a lot of other problems as well. And usually you can tell if you have anterior pelvic tilt by looking kind of in a mirror and you see that your pelvis kind of drops forward and there's a excessive curve in your low back, kind of a sway back like that. So what causes your pelvis to kind of relax and tilt forward? The common reasons are because of weak abs. If you have weak abs, weak core, and because the abs attach to the front of the pelvis. And if your abs are weak and when it's completely relaxed, that causes your pelvis to tilt forward. But if you're able to kind of contract them and bring them back, bring the pelvis back posteriorly, brings it to a more neutral pelvic position. And if you have tight hip flexors, and tight hip flexors attached to the front of the pelvis as well. If they're tight, that pulls your pelvis forward as well. So relaxed abs and tight hip flexors can pull your pelvis forward. And then if you have weak glutes, the glutes attached to the back of the pelvis, and if they're weak and relaxed, that causes your pelvis to roll forward. If they're strong, when you contract your glutes, usually your pelvis will tilt back. How do you know if you have, say, tight hip flexors? There's a common test we call it Thomas test, where you lay flat on the ground and you try to bring one knee to your chest and then see if your other leg that's laying flat, if there's a space in between. If you can slide your hand, if there's excessive space between the back of your thigh and the ground, then you probably have tight hip flexors, and you do it to both sides. Oftentimes we develop these tight hip flexors from sitting all day. And when you're sitting in a flexed position, your muscles are relaxed and they kind of just get tight. And how do you know if you have weak abs? Well, if you don't do abs, then you probably have weak abs. With a weak core and abs, we always have to make sure we start from the basics. We teach our patients diaphragmatic abdominal breathing, deep breathing, to really facilitate the core, to really help make sure your core is stabilized and you can engage them effectively. I'm going to teach you guys diaphragmatic breathing as well. So, and this oftentimes can treat low back pain, if people have low back pains, and helps you relax as well. So lay on your back, bend both knees. We call this the hook line position. And then put one hand on your chest, one hand on your abdominals. And when you take a deep breath in through the nose, I want you to feel the hand on the abdominal kind of rise up instead of your chest. If you're breathing all from your chest and your chest is rising, that's shallow breathing, and that can cause a bunch of other problems as well. And when you do core strengthening exercises like ab exercises and stuff, make sure you breathe correctly so you're not kind of compensating with your low back, tightening up your low back to do like a straight leg raise or something, making problems worse. So now I'm going to just jump in and show you guys how to stretch the hip flexors. And there's other variations to this to kind of open up the hips and also kind of increase your ankle dorsiflexion if you need it, because a lot of people, when they have trouble deep squatting, oftentimes it's because of they're lacking hip and ankle mobility. With the ankle mobility, oftentimes we just think of the sagittal plane, meaning it's the flexion and the extension, the plantar flexion and dorsiflexion range of motion, but oftentimes we also need the transverse plane. This way, we also need the transverse plane range of motion to kind of make sure your knees don't point in, so they have the mobility to kind of stay in line with your second and third toe when you're squatting. So my CI teaches the athletes these stretches, these series of stretches, and thought they were very helpful. So a lot of credit goes to him, and I'm just gonna show you guys, and I hope it helps. So starting with the most basic one, the first one, only addressing the hip flexors. So you want to start off in a half kneeling position, one knee on the ground. Usually you put something soft, something like a pillow underneath your knee so it doesn't hurt. And then the other knee is up. In this position, I want you to kind of shift your hips straight forward. Not down, just straight forward. And then you feel the stretch in the hip flexors in the leg that's behind. And also with the hip flexor stretch, make sure the leg that's behind, make sure your ankles are tucked in. And then if you want to squeeze that glute to kind of help facilitate a little bit more stretch, you can. And if the stretch is too much to hold for like 30 seconds, just start by rocking back and forth, nice and slow. And then if you can hold it for 10 seconds, and then slowly progress to 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And then switch, make sure you do it to both sides, if both sides are tight. And then the next stretch is, you stay in the same position, cross both arms across in front of your chest, and then we're gonna add a little bit of trunk rotation. And with this, make sure you exhale out, so make sure your rib cage is brought down, depressed. That puts it in a better positioning. And then when you rotate your trunk to the side, left and right, nice and slow, that stretches out the hips, external, internal rotation as well. But make sure that the knee that is up, make sure that knee doesn't drop in. Back and forth, and if you can hold it a little bit, hold it before you switch to the other side. And then the last one is the one that also works on the ankles, the ankle mobility. So for this one, make sure your arm is on the inside of the knee, so it prevents the knee from coming in. And then your hand, put it on the top of your foot, and then start rocking forward like so, and make sure the back of your heels doesn't come up. And so this works on the ankle dorsiflexion and also the transverse plane mobility as well. When your knee kind of comes out a little bit. I want you guys to try this out if you have tightness in any of these areas. Hopefully it'll help you guys out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.